video, page 854. The 6 problems here, or 7 problems here. Let's go ahead and get started with the assignment for today. Here we go. First of all, let's take a look at number 5. Let's go ahead and solve this 3-variable system. Now this problem here is pretty easy because we already know what z equals. Okay, so we're going to come up to this equation right here. And where z is, I'm going to put a 4. Okay, so here we go. Y plus 2z, which is 4, equals 6. Y plus 8 equals 6. Y equals negative 2. So I know what z equals. I know what y equals. And now we're going to come up here and put negative 2 in for y. Then we're going to put 4 in for z. Okay, so here we go. 2x minus, and then for y I'm going to put negative 2, plus 5z. So 5 parentheses 4 for z equals 24. And now let's solve for x. So here we go. 2x plus 2 plus 20 equals 24. 2x plus 22 equals 24. Bring the 22 over and make it negative. 2x equals 2. Divide both sides by 2 and x equals 1. So your final answer should be written 1, comma, negative 2, comma, 4. Okay? Whenever the original problem is written in row, echelon form like this, it's really, really easy to solve. Okay? Moving on to number 14. Now I'm looking to eliminate my x's or my y's or my z's. Now for me, students, when I look at this, I'm thinking, wow, I mean, z's look pretty easy to eliminate and x's look pretty easy to eliminate. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to eliminate my x's, okay? So I'm going to take this equation here, and I'm going to go through and change all the signs, okay? There we go. And now I'm going to combine these two equations here. And let's see what we get. These cancel. Positive 2 plus 1 would be 3y. Positive 3 minus 1 would be positive 2z. And a negative 2 and a negative 1 would be negative 3. So there's one new equation. I'm going to move that over here. Now, I'm going to take this equation right here. I'm going to multiply it by a negative 2 so that when I combine it with this equation here, my x's will cancel out. So 2 times negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Let me do this. I'm going to put a parentheses here and put a negative 2. So negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. Positive 4. Negative 2 times negative 3 is a positive 6. And then negative 2 times 2 is a negative 4. Okay? Now I'm going to add these two equations together. These cancel. 4 plus 4 is 8y. 1 plus 6 is 7z. And 1 minus 4 is negative 3. So there we go. Now I have these two equations here. I'm going to put right on top of each other. And now I can solve for y or for z. Okay, so here we go. Well, let's see, it's probably easier to get rid of my z's, it looks like. I'm going to multiply the top equation by, let's do this first of all. I'm going to multiply my top equation here by negative 7. And multiply my bottom equation here by 7. Or by 2, excuse me. That'll give me a negative 14 here and a positive 14 here. So here's what I come up with. Negative 21y minus 14z equals 21. Multiply your 2 through. 16y plus 14z equals negative 6. Negative 21, positive 16, negative 5y. These cancel. 21 minus 16 is 15. Divide both sides by negative 5. Y equals negative 3. Now, come over here where the y is, put negative 3. Now, students, listen, you can put here or here or here, anywhere. I'm going to do it here, okay? So I'm sorry you wouldn't want to do it up here because you have three unknowns, but you could put negative 3 in for y here or here or here or here. It doesn't matter. I'm going to put y in, negative 3 in for y here because I have space to do work. So 8 times negative 3 plus 7z equals negative 3. Negative 24 plus 7z equals negative 3. Bring the negative 24 over, make it positive. 7z equals 21. Divide by 7, z equals 3. Okay, so now I know what y equals. Now I know what z equals. So you can go into any of these equations up here and solve for x. I'm going to go with the bottom equation right here. So for the x, I have x. For the y, I'm going to put negative 3. For the z, I'm going to put 3. And all of that equals negative 1. So now let's solve for x. X positive negative 3 is negative 3. Negative positive 3 is negative 3. Equals negative 1. X minus 6 equals negative 1. Bring your 6 over, make it positive. X equals 5. So we have 5, comma, negative 3, comma, 3. And that's the answer to number 14. Okay, alright, moving on to number 15, number 17. Okay, number 17. Well, students, when I look at my variables that I want to get rid of, it looks like my y's are my easiest, or my z's for that matter. I'm going to go with y. So first of all, I'm going to take this top equation here and this bottom equation here, and I'm going to add these together. My y's will cancel out. Well, actually, so will my z's too, for that matter, so it works out pretty well. So here we go. I'm going to take the top equation, the bottom. 2x plus 3x is 5x. Y and negative y cancels out. Positive z and negative z cancels out. Equals 7 plus 5 is 12. Okay, so I get x equals 12 fifths. Okay, now, I don't care where you put x in, okay? You can put that in wherever you want up here. I'm going to put it in to the first equation. So 2 times 12 fifths plus y minus z equals 7, okay? Now, 2 times 12 root 5 would be 24 fifths plus y minus z equals 7. Now I'm going to bring my 24 fifths over and make it negative. I'm going to break out my calculator and use my fraction button. 7 minus 24 divided by 5 gives me 11 fifths. So I have y minus z equals 11 fifths. Now students, look what I have. I have an equation here with two unknowns. Okay, a y and a z. Now don't forget, you use the top equation. Now watch what I do. Now, I'll take my bottom equation, or excuse me, the middle equation, and now where x is, I'm going to put 12 fifths, and I'll come out with an equation that has a y and a z. So here we go. For x, right here, I'm going to put 12 fifths minus 2y plus 2z equals negative 9. Now, bring the 12 fifths over and make it a negative 12 fifths. And I would have, let's see, negative 9 minus 12 divided by 5. And that's going to give you a negative 57 over 5. So 2y, negative 2y plus 2z equals negative 57 over 5. So students, look what I have. There's my second equation now that doesn't have an x. So I can easily take these two equations now and solve for x or y. Okay, so here we go. Let's multiply the top equation by 2. Okay, so 2 times y is 2. 2 times negative c would be negative 2c. And 2 times 11/5 would be 22 over 5. Now let's add these two equations together. Look what happens. These cancel. These cancel. You're left with 0 equals whatever this would be. 22/5 minus 57 divided by 5. You would get negative 7. So 0 equals negative 7. Now remember, when that happens, that simply means the answer is no solution. Okay? There are no, if you were to graph these three lines, or these three equations, they would not intersect at all. So students, the answer to this three variable system is no solution, okay? No solution. Alright, moving on to number 19. Now at number 19, we're going to eliminate probably our y's look the easiest right here, okay? So I'm going to take this equation here and this equation here. Now the reason I feel that y is the easiest to eliminate is because all of my x's have a coefficient, all of my z's have a coefficient, but I've got a y right here that only has a 1 in front of it, a negative 1, and that's going to be a lot easier to use instead of x's and z's, okay? So that's why I'm going to eliminate my y's. Now, here we go. I'm going to take these two equations here, this one and this one, and I'm going to eliminate my y's. So what I need is to have a positive 2 here. So I'm going to multiply this equation here by a negative 2. Okay, so here we go. Negative 2 times 7 would be negative 14x. Negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2y. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6c. And negative 2 times 0 is 0. So there, I'm going to cross this off for a second. And we're going to combine this equation and this equation. So 5x negative 14, negative 9x. Your y's cancel. 3 minus 6, negative 3c, and 0 plus 0 is 0. Okay, so there's one equation that has an x and a z. Now let's take the top equation and the bottom equation, okay, and get rid of my y's. So I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by negative 5. Why negative 5? Because negative 5 times negative 1 will give me a positive 5 here, and a positive 5 will cancel with my negative 5 up here. So here we go. Negative 35x. Negative times a negative, positive. Negative times positive, negative. Negative 5 times 0 is 0. Okay, so we're going to cross all this off, and we're going to take this equation here and this equation here and combine them. And here we go. Positive 3, negative 35. That's a negative 32x. Here your y's cancel. 5 and negative 15, negative 10c equals 1 plus 0 is 1. So there's my second equation. So now look what I have. I have two equations with the same two unknowns, x and z, okay? So let's take these now and let's solve for x or z. Now to me, I think it'd be easier to get rid of my z's. I'm going to make both of these become 30, okay? So I'm going to multiply the top by negative 3 and the bottom by 10. Okay, that'll give me a positive 30 here and a negative 30 here. So here we go. Positive 96 minus, no, plus 30c equals negative 3. Then 10 times 9 would be negative 90. Negative 30 and 0. Okay, these cancel and you're left with 6x equals negative 3. Divide both sides by 6, and x equals negative 3 over 6, or if you reduce that, negative 1/2, okay? So there we go. We're 1/3 of the way done. Now, let's take this x value here, right here, and let's substitute that either here or here or here, here. I'm going to use this equation because it has the smallest coefficients, negative 9 and negative 3. So, negative 9 right here times x minus 3z equals 0. Okay, this would be a positive 9 over 2. Bring the 9 over 2 over and make it negative. So negative 3z equals negative 9 halves. And now divide both sides by negative 3. And you will get a positive, divide by 3, 1/3, 9, 6, 3 halves. A positive 3 halves. Okay, so now I know what my z value is. Put that right there. So really, students, the only thing left to do is to take any of these equations. It doesn't matter which one. Put a value in for x, put a value in for z, and solve for y. Now I'm going to go with the one that's the smallest coefficients. I guess this one here would probably do. So here we go. 7x, so 7 times negative 1/2 minus y plus 3 times 3 halves equals 0. Okay, so negative 7 over 2 negative y plus 9 over 2 equals 0. Then I have negative y plus, well, a negative 7 over 2 and a positive 9 over 2. Use your calculator if you need to. It gives you 1. Okay? And so then we'd have 0. Bring your 1 over and make it negative. So negative y equals negative 1. Thus, y equals 1. So your answer is x first, negative 1/2, then your y, 1, then your z, 3 halves. Let me check that real quick to make sure that's right, and yes it is. And we're moving on. Here we go. Number 21. I think it would be easier personally to get rid of my x's, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take my top two equations here, and this equation here, and this equation here, and eliminate my x's. Okay, so I'm going to multiply this top equation here by a negative 2. Alright, so here we go. I would have a negative 2 here. This would give me a negative 4 here. And this would give me a positive 14. Positive 14. And this would be a positive 8. So I'm going to take this equation here and this equation here and combine them. And these will cancel. Negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3y. 14 plus 1z would be 15z. And 8 plus 13 would be 21. So negative 3y plus 15z equals 21. Okay, so there's one equation with an x or a y and a z. Okay, next I'm going to take my top equation and my bottom equation and put them together. Okay, top and bottom. So I've got a 3 here and a 1 here. So I'm going to multiply the top equation up here by a negative 3. Negative 3. So I'll have a negative 3 here. I will have a negative 6 here. Negative 6 here. I will have a positive 21 here. Positive 21. And then a positive 12 here. Positive 12, okay? So I'm going to add this equation with this equation, and the 3 x's will cancel. Negative 6, positive 9 is 3y. Positive 21, negative 16, so negative 15z equals positive 12. Negative 33 would be a negative 21, negative 21. So there's my other equation, okay? So put that right down here. And it looks like we're doing pretty good, but watch what's going to happen now. Watch this carefully. Right now my y's are ready to cancel, but my z's are also. So I'm going to go ahead and add these together. And look what happens. Cancel, cancel, cancel. So 0 equals 0, which means I have, as you guys know, infinite solutions. Now remember, whenever you have infinite solutions, here's exactly what I want you to do. I always want you to solve for y with z. Okay, so in other words, you're going to write z in terms of y. So what we have to do is we have to take one of these equations here and get y by itself so that z is on the other side of the equation. I always want you to do that, students, when you have an answer of infinite solutions. Always. So here's my equation. Negative 3y plus 15z equals 21. Remember, I always want you to solve for y so that you have z on the other side. So negative 3y equals 21 minus 15. Okay? There we go. Now students, after moving the 15z over, make it negative. Now divide everything by negative 3. So y equals negative 7 plus 5z. Now where the z is, we're going to put a. So in other words, we're saying z equals a. So your answer is going to be really big down here, okay? So for z right here, I'm going to put a. That's what we're putting for z, okay? We're going to put a. Why a? That's just what the textbook uses. So if the textbook uses that, that's what we're going to use. So there we go. Now we know what y equals. Y equals this. So for y, I'm going to put 5a minus 7, or if you want to put negative 7 plus 5a, that is totally acceptable. Okay, most books are going to put the a term first, okay? Now, how do you find x? Well, I'm glad you asked. Guys, all you have to do is this. Come over here. And just where there's we know 3x is going to stay 3x. For y, right here, we're going to put 5a minus 7 minus 36. Oh, that's going to be an awful big number, isn't it? I picked the wrong equation. You can do that. That's a lot more work. I'm going to pick a nice, easy equation like this. Now, once again, students, you can use this equation here. And if you want to use this equation right here, feel free to do that, okay? It's going to be a little longer and a little harder because of this 9 and 36 here, okay? I'm going to use 2x plus y, so parentheses 5y minus 7 plus z, which is a, equals 13. Now that's a lot easier than the 9 and the 36. So now I have 2x plus 5a minus 7 plus a equals 13. So next I have 2x plus 6a minus 7 equals 13. Now next I want to get x by itself. So 2x equals negative 6a. Bring the 6a over. Bring the 7 over, make it positive. Plus 20. Now divide everything by 2 and you'll get negative 3a plus 10. So there's x. Negative 3a plus 10. Okay, let me check the answer key real quick to make sure that's accurate. And I hope that it is. And maybe I made a mistake somewhere. I hope I did not. Let's see. Negative 3a plus 10. No, that is correct, okay? So that's how you would solve those. And that's what I need you to do when you have infinite solutions, okay? Now, there's one other time that you're going to use a for answers, and that's when you don't have enough equations, like in this problem here. I do not have enough. I said enough equations. I have 3 variables, x, y, z, so I need 3 equations, but I only have 2. So I know there's no way I can solve this. It's impossible, but I can at least write my answer in terms of a. Now what did I just tell you to do? Always write an equation so that what is by itself? Y. And what do you have over here? Not x, but z. Always, okay? So right now, I have a problem. I have no equation with just a y and a z. So here's, do you see that? This equation here does not have a y and a z only. And this equation here does not have a y and a z only. So what am I going to do? Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to eliminate my x's and hopefully come up with an equation that has a y and a z. So I have a 2 and a negative 4. I'm going to multiply this top equation here by 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. 2 times c is 2c. And 2 times negative 2 would be negative 4. Negative 4. So these cancel. Negative 6 and 9 is 3y. 2c plus 0 is just 2c. And negative 4 and 7 is 3. So there, I did it. I have an equation written with y and z. Let me stop and review again one more time how I knew I could not solve this. How many variables do I have? 3. So how many equations do I have to have? 3, and I don't. I have 2. So it's impossible to solve this with a numerical answer. So I'm going to solve it using A. So next, you want to get y by itself and z over here. So 3y equals 3 minus 2z. Now divide everything by 3. Okay, divide this by 3. 3 is canceled. Divide this by 3. You get 1. Divide 2 by 3 and you get 2/3. Now remember what I taught you. Next, you put A in for z. There we go. So now that I did that, I know that z equals A because I put A in for z. And remember, we're using A because the book uses A. You could really use any letter you wanted to. Other books that I've taught out of it have used other letters, other variables. For y, I'm going to put negative or 1 minus 2/3 A. Actually, you should put the A term first to be technically correct. So negative 2/3 A plus 1. If you do not put the A term first, I will not take off any points. That's fine. And now I'm going to take my x and my y and my z and substitute it in. I'm going to use the top equation, okay? So here we go. 2x, negative 3, parentheses, negative 2/3 A, plus 1, plus c, so plus A equals negative 2. So here we go. 2x, negative 3 times negative 2/3, positive 2a, negative 3 times 1, negative 3, plus a equals negative 2. Combine your a terms. I have 2x plus 3a minus 3 equals negative 2. Now I want to get x by itself, so bring this over and bring this over, and I'm left with 2x equals 3a becomes negative 3a. When you bring your negative 3 over, it becomes positive 3. So negative 2 and positive 3 is positive 1. Now divide everything by 2, and x equals negative 3/2 a plus 1/2. So there's what x equals. So negative 3 over 2a plus 1/2, comma. Let me check that real quick to make sure it's accurate. I believe that it is. I hope that it is. And yes, it is. Okay, so one more problem. We're finished. Number 33. Now, students, look, please. I mean, we know for sure one answer is going to be 0, 0, 0, right? Look at all these numbers over here. If you put a 0 in for x, and a 0 in for y, and a 0 in for z, you get 0. Same thing here. Same thing here. So the only way my answer is not going to be 0, 0, 0 is if I have infinite solutions and there's more than one example. So let's see what happens, okay? Notice I have an equation already with an x and a y. Do you see that? So I'm going to copy that over here. That's nice. That's really helpful. Now, if I can take this problem, these two equations here, and get rid of my z's, then I'll have an equation with an x and a y, and that's what I'm going to do. So I have a 3 here and negative 1. I'm going to multiply this equation here by 3. That'll give me a negative 3 here. So here we go. 3 times 4 gives me a 12 right here, a 12. 3 times 3 gives me a 9. 3 times negative z is negative 3, and 3 times 0 is 0. So 12 plus 8 is 20x. 9 plus 3 is 12y. Equals 0. Okay, so pick this equation up, bring it over here, and now I have two equations with the same two unknowns. So here we go. I think it'd be easier to get rid of the y's. I have a 3 here and a 12 here, so I'm going to multiply this equation here by a negative 4. That'll give me a negative 12 here. So here we go. Negative 8x, negative 12y equals 0. 4 times 2, 4 times 3, 4 times 0. Your other equation stays the same. And of course we get this, 0. These cancel, and you get 12x. Divide both sides by 12. X equals 0. Now come over here where the x is, put it 0. 20 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 12y is just 12y. Divide both sides by 12. Y equals 0. And now if you come up here and put a 0 in for y right here. Put a 0 in for y right here. This becomes 0. Put a 0 in for x here. This would become 0. So 0 plus 0 plus 3c is 3c equals 0. Divide by 3 and you get 0. So the answer is 0, 0, 0. Now I knew that was one of the answers. My only question is did I have infinite solutions? And thus, this answer here was only one of many answers. And that's why I had to work it out to make sure. But the answer is 0, 0, 0. Students, I hope this homework help video has been a help to you guys. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to call or email.